Hello, Bengals. Welcome to the Purr podcast with Lainey and McKinley. It is October 2nd, and we'll be talking about mental health because it's mental health, week and month.
Well, it's not mental health week anymore, but it's still an important thing to talk about.
And so just like a trigger warning, if that's a sensitive topic to you or if you've had a history with that, we obviously don't want you to have, be triggered. And also, we are going to say that any opinions expressed by us do not reflect the Bengals Purr or Lewiston High School. And we will definitely differentiate for you guys what is our opinion versus fact because we are journalists and we don't want you to get confused between that.
I'm going to start with something that I feel like is not as popular of an opinion around everybody, that mental health is just as important as physical health.
Well, there's also like a correlation and connection between mental health and physical health. When we talked to the Dwayne Johnson guy or something.
The Rock?
No, wait, who was the guy that donated the statue? Dwayne Clark.
Dwayne Clark?
Dwayne Clark. The car, I got it plus.
The Rock.
We interviewed Dwayne Clark, and read that article, by the way, it was really fun. But he had like a mental health wellness kind of business, and I asked him kind of about it, and he was like, yeah, there definitely is a correlation between the mind and the body. And I feel like in like a more practical way that a lot of people know that kind of shows this is when people lose a limb, there's the things called phantom pains, and most people get over phantom pains by like, one way you can get over them at least is like telling yourself like, that doesn't hurt, that doesn't hurt, that doesn't hurt. And sometimes for some people it works enough that like you can trick your body into not feeling that pain anymore. So our minds and our bodies are definitely connected in a really strong way.
Yeah.
And so many people, whenever they're going through mental health like problems, like they get tired, they get just like, they want to stay in bed. And, there's a correlation between all of that kind of stuff. Also, like anxiety, it can trigger your fight or flight response, right? And like, I feel like Cara would know a lot about this, but she's in the background right now. But from what I've learned with her like fibromyalgia, it's caused by a lot of anxiety, and that fight or flight response wears your body down over time and can cause those adverse health effects.
Since it is so dismissed, like people are scared to ask for help. And like a lot of times, like when you are talking to somebody and it is obvious that they are struggling, the first like instinct for you is to tell them like, oh, go talk to a counselor, or, oh, you'll be fine. Or like, it's not that easy. And I feel like people try to dumb it down to just, oh, if you're struggling, just reach out. It's not that hard. But if you are actually in a dark place, it's really hard to like get there.
Yeah. Like a sign on the wall, like I understand like what the school's trying to do, and I think they care a lot about their students. Don't get me wrong. I know the teachers care deeply about us, but it is mental health week and month is always weird to me because I feel like you always see these signs that are like, you matter, this, like, just talk to someone, like, love yourself. And those, you always hear those things whenever we're talking about mental health. Mm-hmm. But someone who really is struggling isn't like, no, they're not going to hear you matter and really believe it. Like, it's so core in their belief that they don't matter that like someone else, they're going to be like, no, they're just lying. They're just saying that to make me feel better. That's not how you're going to get to someone, really. And it's good to like acknowledge and make people think about it. Like definitely like this week you go around the hall and you think about like, oh, what are people struggling with and how am I treating other people? Because we become so desensitized to it, I feel like.
Yeah, I definitely agree about the desensitized part.
Yeah. And so I think it helps with that more awareness, but those signs aren't going to help someone who's really struggling. But I do think they help people realize people who's struggling, and in that way they help.
Yeah. And like even people that aren't like, even me, I like walk by and I see one of those signs and it's like, oh, you matter. Or like I ordered a Lotus today and it had a note on the top that said you matter. And I thought that was really cute and that made me feel really good.
Yeah.
And so I feel like even telling somebody like, hey, I like your shoes, that can help someone a lot. And I feel like there's not enough, I'm going to sound really cheesy saying this, but there's not enough kindness in the world.
Real.
Like people are so like, again, desensitized. Like it's funny to be mean. It's funny to joke around with your friends. It's funny to like say a lot of things that you really shouldn't be.
And like I think what the school did, getting the community involved with the You Matter signs all over town and stuff, like even though not a lot of people realized it, I think it does brighten someone's day, and it kind of stops that depression or that anxiety before it gets so bad. And it can remind people to be kinder. And that was also in the talk with the guy that came in.
Yeah.
He wanted to create a positive environment in the school, which I think the school is trying to do, and we'll see how that works out. It's, I think, too early to tell, but at least they're trying, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So another thing that I feel like isn't brought up enough, because this is one of the things that I feel like the adults try to sensitize: suicide.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like not talking about suicide is what causes it. And like, you see it so often, like people are like, oh, just don't kill yourself, you know? Like,
And it's also not the people you think, because I know they're always like, oh, the nicest people are really the most hurt ones. But I don't think you go through life ever thinking that someone you love is going to like die or get in a car crash. And that's like the same thing. Like anyone could die at any moment. And I think anyone could also be suicidal at any moment. And you don't know, like obviously there's signs that if you look for, but also a lot of the time they do, I think, mask it pretty well. Yeah. Because I feel like suicide, we always think of it as a selfish thing. Like, oh, they did it for themselves because they were done. People who are suicidal believe the best thing for the world is that they aren't around anymore. So in their eyes, it is selfless. Yeah. And so they won't try and burden other people with their emotions and be like, make life harder, because they already see themselves as a burden.
Yeah.
And I think that's a hard way of catching it, because you always think it's going to be the people that are like, oh my gosh, life sucks and I hate my life. But those aren't really the people. The quiet people, the ones that want to make people happy, they're the ones who believe that if they weren't around, their life, like everyone else's lives, would be better. Yeah. And so I think we also need to stop saying suicide is selfish. It is really not. And because in the person who did its eyes, they were doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have a statistic from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I have a couple statistics, actually, that I felt like were really important to bring up. Suicide is the 11th leading cause of death in the United States, according to 2022 statistics.
That's so sad.
11th leading.
Yeah.
Out of all the ways that you can die, 11th doesn't seem like it's that high up, but if you think about it.
Yeah, because there's a lot of ways to die.
Yeah. Again, in 2022, 49,476 people died by suicide, and there was an estimated 1.6 million attempts.
Yeah, it's scary to think of all the people that like tried and that didn't. And like, I don't know. It's just such a sad thing that those people are walking around with us every day, and like it's something you never notice or think about. Like, because you think you're fine, and then you're like, it's kind of like, a lot of people, I guess, don't know what empathy is sometimes. Yeah. Or like sometimes on the internet, I'll see people, they'll be like, do you ever realize that other people have a life outside of you? I'm like, yeah, empathy is crazy. I know. Like, they're like, wow. No, but it's like, I feel like sometimes we're so centered in ourselves that it's hard to like look at other people and be like, wow, they might be having the worst day of their life right now, or like the worst year of their life. And also like, not to bring in social media, but I do think social media is a big part of suicide. And it's always cringy to hear whenever adults are like, it's the suicide, like the internet is creating like suicide and we just need to be off the internet. But I think the point they're trying to make is that we are more isolated than we've ever been. Yeah. And we don't know what empathy is. People on the internet are learning about empathy every day, and they're like, whoa, like other people have feelings. Yeah. And so it is that like isolation, and then that breaks people apart from their support systems that make them feel loved. And then they're like, oh, I'm just a burden.
Yeah. And I feel like teenagers especially are really bad about like discerning the fantasy of social media to reality. Like if I see a post, say you're like on a yacht, okay? I see a post that you're on this yacht and I'm sitting in my room in the dark on my phone. Like, I think it's important to realize that not everything you see is truth. Like everybody could be struggling and you just see this little glimpse into their life. And that's my problem with social media, is that it's completely entirely fake. And that's what causes a lot of people to become depressed, because they think, oh, everyone's life is so much better than mine. Which I know I sound like not even a millennial, like
a boomer.
I sound like a boomer at this point. But that was one of the important things I learned growing up, was that this was drilled into my head, because if you want social media, you have to know this kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not real. It's all fake. And you just need to know that you need to learn how to separate that from reality.
Yeah, and that's like a hard thing to do, especially because of this like the more you believe in social media, the more isolated you become. And then it's like a cycle, because then you're like, oh, that's your whole world. And honestly, sometimes you gotta wish you lived in a 90s movie where everyone rode their bikes around town.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
and it's hard to go back to that because it is like now your parents are like, oh, don't go out because there's creepy people out there. And like, and our world is just, it is very much isolated. It's like we don't have front porches. No one sits on their front porch and drinks their iced tea and talks to their neighbors. No one like goes out around town. Like, where's there to go? Walmart? Like,
Walmart,
like,
yeah.
you know, and so we are isolated and there's not enough of these places for people to go. But also, I think we could start creating those places, like at the school.
Exactly.
Like they're trying, the school is trying.
More recognition for clubs, I think.
Yes, clubs. The school is trying more than they have in the past, or even, I don't know. I think this month they've been doing a lot, and even more months. I'm more aware of a mental health week and month than I was last year.
Exactly.
So,
me too. I think they did a way better job.
Yeah.
I still feel like they are not doing enough, but I feel like they're trying.
They are trying, and obviously I think at the nuclear level, like with the teachers and stuff, the teachers care immensely. It is, I think, a problem with like higher ups that are more disconnected from the school, like with what the school is able to do. But they are trying to make more communities, because I'm in Link Crew, and so they are trying to make more places like that for students to like actually like have a community, like the tailgate they're trying to do before HOCO. And they're also trying to do something on half days for like students, because like where else are kids gonna go? Their house, and they're gonna go sit on their phones with no one.
Exactly.
And just be alone.
I interviewed Craig, the security officer, and he was talking about how he was planning on like, wasn't he like making like resources and stuff and like trying to come up with like a suicide prevention club even?
It has a suicide prevention foundation.
Yeah. So like things like that, they're trying, and I think that's really important, but it just needs to be done at a larger scale.
Yeah. I see we're on the track for doing better stuff, like that they got the community involved. I think that was really a big step towards what they're trying to accomplish. And this year in general, I think the school has been more active. Like, I don't know if it was ASB or whatever was going on last year, but even ASB, like, you come to school on Battle of the Bridges Day, and they spent, like, forever, like, decorating, like, the ceilings. Like, with those, like with those banners, like, you know that had to take forever to, like, set up and then clean up. Like, they actually care, and they're willing to put in the time. And if the school is willing to put in the time, then I think things will change. Also, like, obviously, kids spend a lot of their time at school, but we can't always focus everything on school, because school isn't there to necessarily raise your children. But like at home with the family, I think parents also need to be more compassionate. Like, some parents need to be more compassionate towards their child's mental health and their wellness.
Yeah.
do you have anything to say on that? Or I can yap about that.
I don't know.
Like, I just think a lot of people, like, not a lot of people, like, some families are obviously very open with emotions, but some aren't. And they'll be like, oh, you don't feel that way, or you don't need therapy, or it's not that bad. And I think that's what makes it worse, is whenever people
My least favorite. You're just a hormonal teenager. You'll get over it.
Oh, yeah. No, not the hormones again.
Not the hormones.
But yeah, like, there are just some families that don't acknowledge emotions super well, and then that can build to that more emotional isolation, which can lead to things like depression and anxiety. And I think I'm very, very open with my family, sometimes more than I need to be. Like, my parents are like, why are you telling me this right now? Like, where are your secrets?
Like, as soon as my mom gets home, I'm dropping all the lore I learned.
No, yeah. But some families just don't, like, they don't feel comfortable sharing that with their parents, because maybe their parents weren't emotional as children, or didn't. And it's just a generational cycle, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to break those cycles for like the better of the family and future generations. And so, like, obviously kids are at school a lot of the time, and school is very, very influential on people, because sometimes you see like your teachers more than you can see your family members.
Yeah.
But it does start at the home from a very young age, the way you handle emotions and process those. And so
yeah, and like going back to the whole thing about parents and like telling their kids, oh, you don't feel that way. That's not true. You're not depressed. You don't need therapy. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for teenagers and young adults, ages 10 through 34, according to the JED Foundation. Second leading cause of death for teenagers, because people just don't talk about it. Parents are like, you don't feel that way. You don't need help. Get over it. It's the phone.
it's the phone. Okay, so we have a list on here of statistics of people that do like are more likely to kill themselves, I guess. But I've also heard there's Men's Mental Health Month, which is also always been interesting to me because it's during June. And so, but that's always been interesting to me because I do think men's mental health is something that's not talked about, or like I guess we're talking about it more because like Men's Mental Health Month exists.
Because it's always been like, oh, be a man, don't be a baby. But like, I think it's important that guys open up as well.
I think it's talked about a lot, but not a lot is being done about it.
Exactly. Yeah. And like a lot of guys
Did
are
that pick
still,
up?
like,
I hope they heard Cara say that. That was really good.
Bars.
Dropping bars and you can't even hear you.
Cara has some deep thoughts in the background. But yeah, but that is so true. And I've also heard suicide rates are higher, but I've also heard that's because they use like guns and like so that's more effective.
Yeah.
But it is something that's talked about, I think, for like clout to be like, oh, we care about men, but at the same time they don't do anything about it. And honestly, to bring back life to the Barbie movie, because that's all it is. Yeah. Like, one, we can talk about the Barbie movie all day and the symbolism behind it.
We should have a podcast episode about the Barbie movie.
Yes, but the Barbie movie, one of the main points was that the patriarchy also hurts men. And, like, the idea that men have to be strong hurts men in the long run, and I feel like, because they don't feel like they can express themselves, and then they are more likely to do things like that.
Yeah, I agree there.
But, yeah, these statistics are really interesting.
Yeah. Like 22% of high school students reporting having seriously considered suicide in the past year.
Yeah, that's wild.
That is wild.
That's probably someone you know or you sit next to in class.
Going back, 22% doesn't sound like a huge statistic, but like you're in like a crowded room full of people. That's
like 1 in 5 people.
That's like 1 in 5 people.
I think. If I'm doing my math right, if math has helped me at all, I think it's 1 in 5 people.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's in your classroom. It's around you all the time. And not to make, like, life morbid. Like, don't go around, I guess, thinking, oh, everyone wants to kill themselves. But, like, just be kind to everyone because you never know what they're going through, which is such a cheesy line.
But it's so true. And I feel like, that's such a cheesy line. No, that is bars.
Yeah, it's because you hear it so much because it is true. Like, you could be nice to that 1 in 5 person in your class, and then they might, like, it could change their life for the better. Not like,
exactly.
You know, it's like you never know what you're going to do, but, like, you may never see the outcome of your actions if they do something good, but, like, you should just do it because not for the outcome, but because you did something good, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. How much time have we been recording for? Ooh, good.
Okay.
Were we trying to make this episode a little shorter?
I don't know.
I
feel like this is a lot of merit.
Have we talked about? Okay, what else?
We move on to the next statistic.
Next statistic. This one is really good. Yeah.
So of all the people that, according to this study done by the Jed Foundation of teenagers who committed, 30% were women, 27% were either American Indians or Alaska Natives, and 45% were LGBTQ teens.
Yeah. And yeah, obviously all these statistics, one's broken up by gender, one's ethnicity, and one's sexuality, but they're all very important.
It's wild. Like,
yeah, these are all, like, definitely, like, as I don't really know. I'm only a woman, so I only can understand one of these categories.
Yeah, no, real.
But, like, I definitely think there are struggles that all of these categories face that can lead to it in our society, and the lack of kindness towards
racism and homophobia is so, like, normalized, and it's a problem,
especially in high school. Sometimes, like, racism and homophobia is very much normalized, I feel like, with teens because they think it's funny. Like,
or it's just like the way their parents raised them around this stuff, and they think it's normal because their parents taught them that.
And you hear slurs in the hallways all the time. Like, and I'm like, you can't say that, but they just think it's funny, or it's like a joke with their friends, and they're like, oh, I can say it to my friends, but I won't say it to their face. I'm like, you're still creating that stigma, like, you're still perpetuating that stigma, and that an LGBTQ or a Black kid is gonna hear that, and they're gonna be like, oh, those people hate me. Like, it doesn't matter if it's a joke, because the weight that word carries is not a joke, and so it does create that, like, it does just put that burden on those people, and then they're eventually like, oh, the whole world hates me, and then, you know, they commit, and it's so sad because even if that person meant it as a joke, it wasn't funny, and, you know, it could lead to dire consequences for other people.
Yeah, and, like, I have a lot of friends who are LGBTQ, and like, just, like, the things that they've, like, told me about that they've experienced just around the school, it makes me sick. Like, why is it so hard to accept somebody and be nice?
Yeah.
It's just
Literally, you should be nice to anybody, no matter who they are. Like, it's the fact that you look at someone and go, oh, because of this one thing, I'm going to treat you differently when they're just a person. Like, I don't know why that matters. If they're just like a person in the hall or someone you share class with, like, why does it matter who you be nice to and who you don't?
Yeah,
Like,
why does it matter that this person's skin is darker than yours? Why does it matter that this person like looks a little different or whatever?
yeah, it's like it really does not hurt your life in any way just to be nice to people. And so I don't know why people don't do it more. And maybe it's just because we're such a negative society. Like, I feel like there is a negative culture around the school.
Once again,
teenagers.
It's so normalized because it's funny.
It's funny. And yeah, I feel like we've all fallen into it. We've all been mean to our friends and stuff, and we're all mean.
Yeah.
And then it just creates this
But like,
negative attitude.
I am a little like mean and teasing. Like, I'd never ever mean it, and I make sure that people know that.
Yeah.
Like, I make sure. Like, I don't.
Yes. It's like if you feel like you cross the line, you're like, dude, I don't mean that though. That was just like, I'm so sorry.
Even if I didn't feel like I crossed the line, like I'll say something. I'll go, hey, that was a joke.
You're like, I know, I love you, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's so real. Like, but okay. So what have they been doing around the school is there anything else we want to talk about? Statistics first?
No, that was all my.
So what have you seen around the school that they're doing for Mental Health Month and stuff?
Going back, I thought this was just so cute. I have to bring this up again. The lotus.
The drinks. No, because we all get lotuses. The Cara has a lotus right now. Yeah. I hope the mic picked that up. But yeah, she has a lotus. Like, that's such a good way to connect with teens, I feel like.
Yeah. And it was so cute. It like took it. Okay, it was written in green Sharpie on the top, and my drink was blue, and I like couldn't figure out what it said for a solid like 5 minutes, and I tilted it a little bit, and it said "You matter," and it had hearts, and it was the cutest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. Like the green everywhere for support. Like the football game last Friday, all of the cheerleaders had like green hair ties in or like bows, and I thought that was cute. It's just like a little like reference to it and whatever they're doing. And the banner they had that said "You Matter" up on like the Sky Bridge.
Yeah, that was cute.
That was cute because it showed they put in effort. There's the bulletin board that the counselors did with the sticky notes. Who was it? Craig. He had the sign with the "You Matter" sign. And he was taking photos. And although I feel like some people did run away because no one wanted their photo taken, like I think it was a fun way to engage students.
Yeah.
So that was cute. There was the mental health fair, which I don't know. It was bigger. I think my freshman year, more clubs did it. Mm-hmm. But I think it could be a fun experience if people want to get into it and do like clubs and stuff. Because I think it's just more fairs, more opportunities to see clubs is important at the school.
I agree. Especially when it ties back to supporting mental health.
Yes, anything that supports mental health.
Yeah.
Also the other day, and I don't know really it was like this week, one of our teachers was wearing like bright orange. Leachman was. I was like, someone was like, why are you wearing orange? And he's like, it's for every Student Matters Day or something. I'm like, oh. So
I saw someone else wearing orange too.
Yeah.
I was like, bright orange.
Yeah, so I guess like maybe the teachers are doing something for the students, which like is nice. They're carrying it on past Mental Health Week because it is like the month. So that's nice.
Yeah, I agree. The suicide prevention and support hotline number is 988, which I'm sure you've seen, but I'm just going to put it in here one more time because you can never see it enough.
Yes. So 988, if you have just need to talk to someone, need to call someone.
Staring at us.
If you're concerned about someone.
Yeah. Okay. So now to wrap it up and make it a little fun.
Get on
a lighter note. Lainey wrote a satire on the Band-Aid ban, which do you want to explain kind of what that is?
Yeah. So I am not. Don't take me as a reliable source, please. We're
gonna be coming out with a better article.
If you are concerned about this, look into it. Do not take my word. But so it was. I think it was a whole thing about like a law implemented in July about how minors need parental permission to like receive any sort of first aid, especially from schools. And
I think the point was mainly for like if you're going to the doctor, because there used to be a rule.
No, it was the whole like it was. I think I read something saying that someone had a bad reaction to a Band-Aid, but I don't remember.
What?
Yeah.
Well, there'll be another article coming out from the Bengals Purr that will have more information. We're currently researching it. But she wrote a satire basically kind of mocking the law because you're not allowed to give Band-Aids to students pretty much is like the funniest part.
And I got so many comments on the story just thinking it was
believing
real.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna read some of my favorites, my personal favorites. Sorry if I read out your comment. I'm not like making fun of anybody. No. I just thought
this was obviously probably poorly labeled as satire, or that's kind of our fault. We need to probably work on that. So.
This is all lighthearted. I think these comments are hilarious, and I absolutely love the interaction.
Yeah,
because this is one of the
one of our most interacted with and viewed stories. So keep commenting, guys.
So I am so sorry it was not clear enough that this is a satire.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the most ridiculous law ever put in the books. How is a Band-Aid dangerous? Why is that school nurse sentenced to life in prison for giving an ice pack? Finally, is this just a prank?
The funny thing is my brother had the same thing happen. I don't know if it was my brother or basically when he was working for the Purr, he did a satire, or someone else that he was working with did satire, and their comments were like freaking out because they thought it was real.
No,
but they didn't clarify it was satire.
This one says this has to be a joke. This is the prank, right?
There's our hate comment. Let's listen to the hate comment.
I understand this is satire, but unnecessary and has no reason to be written or released. Okay, on this note, I don't think people know what satire is. It is meant to pick at something stupid. It is meant to
make fun of something.
Yeah, make fun of something. And I personally, and I feel very strongly about this law because I have a lot of relatives that work in healthcare. And I, again, have a lot of strong feelings about this.
I like how it says clickbait when it's literally satire.
Yeah, it is labeled
supposed to be clickbait.
Yeah. Why would you write this in a formula that could be perceived as real and true news?
Well, they just complimented your format.
I think satire is kind of meant to mock. It's meant to mock,
seem real,
and it's supposed to replicate and mock how traditional media is. So it's kind of mocking the law and how an article written about it would be.
Yeah.
You know,
and if satire seemed like a fake article, then it wouldn't be that funny.
It wouldn't get your point across as much. Oh, what is this one?
This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. Being a nurse for 32 years, I am shocked at the idiocy of our government regarding this issue. Again, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. This is not a real article.
I think the lawmaker houses should be searched for first aid supplies and held accountable.
Guys, this one is my new favorite comment. Absolutely ridiculous. This is something that should happen in California, not Idaho. Goes to show we are being Californicated.
Californication.
Californicated is a verb now.
Dude, gonna put that in an article.
California is a verb, guys. Okay, there's 25 comments on my story, guys.
That's crazy.
That is wild. I just think it's so funny. Again, I'm not making fun of anybody. If you thought it was real, I understand.
That was kind of our bad.
That's the point of satire.
We probably need to put something on our website that because in our newspapers we have the giant stamp that says satire.
If you look at the article, it says satire and then the title.
Oh.
Except I think most of the confusion came from Facebook because it did not say satire on the Facebook.
Oh, okay. Well, good thing I'm not the social media manager of the Facebook.
Everything but the Facebook.
Everything but. Okay. Thank you guys all for listening.
Thank you so much.
Yes, I know it was a little sad of an episode, but I hope that those satire comments cheered you up. Go read Lainey's story. It is super funny if you need to be cheered up more. It's at thebengalspurr.com. Hopefully YouTube doesn't flag us for scam for using a link again, so that's my bad. But we got it appealed, so go listen to us on Spotify and YouTube. Yeah, just thank you. We love you. You're
love you so much. Go drink some water. Take care of yourself.
Yay!
Bye.